Temple. Welcome to another edition of Notoriety. Each week we bring you all the ticket opportunities that you'll want to make sure you mark on the calendar. Everything happening in Northwest Indiana, Chicago, and beyond. Everything that's not to be missed. And, of course, this is the broadcast equivalent of all of the stories and columns you'll read in the flagship Post-Tribune newspaper underneath the Chicago Tribune media umbrella as well. And, of course, you can always find all those stories, everything archived at chicagotribune.com. We wouldn't be here without the generosity of our underwriters, the folks such as our generous sponsors at People's Bank, the Indiana Arts Commission, and the Legacy Foundation. Some of you are tuned in through the traditional radio dial, and others have the added advantage of our TV cameras for streaming. So maybe you found us through social media, or it could be you're just streaming us through Jed TV as we come to you from our Strachan Van Til studios in Hammond. And our broadcast is being captured on this Monday, July the 7th. In case it is a rebroadcast, you want to make sure you know exactly when our interview was happening and our dialogue. It's the 7th of July in case it is a rebroadcast. We have with us a returning guest and some new faces and talent, but most of all, they're friends from the East, from the stage and our theater space that is so beloved, LaPorte Little Theatre, which has a century of stage performances as a part of its history timeline. They're always bringing something brand new, and we're so pleased to have our guests with us in studio. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We have with us
Becky Crane
and
Andrew Berger.
They are part of the brand new production that's about to launch of Bye Bye Birdie. So on the desk here, if you've got the advantage of streaming and video capabilities, you might see some old retro albums from the 1960s like Bobby Darin and K-Star. You're not going to find any that is is it Birdie Conrad? Is that our lady?
Conrad Birdie.
Conrad Birdie. You're not going to find an album that features all of those fantastic musical tunes because this is a fictional character kind of inspired by who do we say?
I'd say Elvis.
Elvis Presley, without naming any names, kind of is the one that we think of, right? So LaPorte Little Theatre, who has certainly done this musical before, has relaunched it with a brand new run, and it's soon to be opening. Give us those run dates. It's going to open
July 18th, which is a Friday, and it'll run that Friday and Saturday night at 8 o'clock. No, 7:30. Sorry, 7. Doors open at 7, starts at 7:30, and then Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And so that first weekend and then the following weekend, same time.
Great. I just will put that mic a little bit closer. Pretend you're on Star Trek. There you go. You're doing the communications there. We've got
Is that better?
It. That's perfect.
Okay.
Exactly. And was I correct when I said we're clocking in at a century for LaPorte Little Theatre?
Yes, this is our 100th year anniversary year.
This is a special season then. And remind me, was there already one production that launched earlier in the summer as well?
Yeah, so there actually have already been two shows this season. We started out with Music Man and then just currently had Lend Me a Tenor. So we're jumping into the third show this season.
Music Man is a huge cast, so there's quite a bit. This one also has got quite a few to it, but Music Man, that is quite the undertaking. That space is so legendary. It's really based right in the heart. And you're from LaPorte, I know. We have Chester represented also on our couches here today. But it's really kind of a converted church space. Is that what it is?
Correct.
And it can hold about how many people would you guess, just a guesstimate?
Oh, boy, that's a good question. I'd say 150 probably.
I was going to say close to around almost 200. Balcony or no balcony?
There's a balcony.
There is also balcony seating as well. For years and years, and now they are so busy, but the Garlands would be on quite a bit. Katie, right, and her husband, Tim, they're so involved, and a lot of times we'd compare notes. They make their way to Chicago quite often to see shows that are happening downtown as well, and they stay very, very busy. For those who are not familiar with Bye Bye Birdie, it really is kind of, I'm trying to think what came first. I'm almost sure it's the Broadway musical came first, and then came the feature film that starred Dick Van Dyke. I think it was the manager, and you had a young Anne Margaret, and the classic character comic of Paul Lynde, who I think was also in the Broadway show, and then he got to also be in the film. All of it is talking about kind of a starstruck town, right? When this hit rock and roll superstar comes to their area. Is that right?
Yes, it's Sweet Apple, Ohio.
Oh, that's where it's based at. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And this, actually, like the Conrad Birdie is the Elvis character, but it even more so tells the story of his manager and who Andrew is playing.
Correct.
Albert.
Albert Peterson.
Albert Peterson.
Which I believe, was that the Dick Van Dyke character, right?
Yep, that would be Dick Van Dyke.
Gotcha.
And also Jason Alexander in the more recent version.
In the more recent version
movie,
of it.
I guess television version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which, before we get too far into the weeds of the actual storyline, it is of note that Andrew actually played Conrad Birdie when LaPorte Little Theatre did the show many years ago. So it's come full circle, as we would say.
You had mentioned the Gartlands, and Katie Gartland directed that originally, and this time we have Scott Lennick directing with Julie Phillips doing music directing. But back when Katie Gartland directed, it was my first show at Little Theatre, and I played Conrad. So it's sort of a full circle moment now coming back. And
so how long do we think that was?
That was back in 2016, I believe. When they did it.
And LaPorte Little Theatre, it's so wonderful. I had written a number of stories for the Tribune as well, promoting different performance runs. And what's so great is that it really, yes, you've got kind of a core group or ensemble that are a number of familiar talented faces, but you also will draw, right? There might be folks that people will say, I thought I saw them at 4th Street in Chesterton, or maybe they saw them do something else, at Dune Summer Theater or Chicago Street. Your talent really comes from throughout the region, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
How about ever as far, we talked about time changes here, because LaPorte is still in the same time as we are here in Northwest Indiana and Chicagoland. But do you ever sometimes draw from South Bend, even far enough where they fight the time change to be in a cast?
Yeah, that's definitely been a
That's happened as well? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's been phenomenal. So some of the hit songs, I'm trying to think of the big songs that people will know from Bye Bye Birdie. And again, my mind keeps going back to the Paul Lyd character of the frazzled father of Aunt Margaret in the movie, and he's complaining about kids, right?
Yes.
Kids, yes. What's the matter with kids today? All right, I don't want to sing because we want people to tune in and not tune off. What's some of the other big hit tunes people remember from Bye Bye Birdie?
I would say probably one of the most notable songs that people would recognize would be the song that Albert sings, Put on a Happy Face.
Oh, put on that. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, exactly. And Albert is the manager character?
Yep, Albert is the manager of Almelu Music Corporation. Almelu is his name, Al, and then May is his mother's name, and then Lou is their wire-haired terrier. So they put
truly
all those
together.
Truly
a stage name that came together. Now, again, remind us of your capacity, your character, your team playing.
I'll be playing May Peterson, which is Albert's mother. So I'm playing Andrew's mom.
Oh, that is fantastic. So you've had how many other performances then? What would be some of the last time you were at LaPorte Little Theatre, would you say?
The last time I was at LaPorte Little Theatre was in Ring of Fire.
Oh, Ring of Fire, which I'm sure that did very well for them. Yeah. Everybody loves the music. Johnny Cash and June Carter. What was your component?
It was basically an ensemble cast. It was a singing, so not really parts.
It's a wonderful, review that it always does so well. And how about you? The last time, Andrew, you were in a production?
My most recent one would have been Music Man.
Music Man. In the capacity of?
I was just in the ensemble.
Never just.
Correct.
I was in the ensemble. That's the force that keeps everything together. So very, very key and important, and especially when we mention that is such a vast cast. There's so many people that are needed for that. Not all theaters can do that. LaPorte Little Theatre is also, it's such a good neighbor to the other theaters I know. It can be Footlight Players or somebody in Michigan City. If somebody needs to look for a certain wardrobe piece or a prop, not everybody can have all the things at once because storage would be limitless. I know LaPorte Little Theatre, the Garlands have been great. I want to say that they even maybe used our giant Audrey puppets from my other hat that I wear at the Center for Visual and Performing Arts down the road here in Munster. We have the set of all the various phases of Audrey, the man-eating plant. And I want to say, I think that maybe they might have used them on loan for one of their productions. It's been a while ago. Matter of fact, it's been a while since you mentioned that you were a guest on the show. Church Basement Ladies, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's been at least a couple seasons ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, time goes so quick. The running time for Bye Bye Birdie, a couple hours with an intermission, I'm going to guess?
Just under, yeah. It's on the shorter side of.
And then the costuming is a little bit fun because I've kind of tried to hit the air here. We're kind of thinking 1960s, right?
Right, correct.
Yeah, so you get to have a little bit more fun with maybe some of the hairstyles.
Yes, a lot of wigs.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of times Katie Garland, her mom was wonderful with helping with a lot of wardrobe and costumes.
She is helping with our costuming for the show as well.
The casting for this happened how long ago for auditions? If you go back in memory lane here in the timeline, Would it have been in the spring or no? It was May, the start of summer. What do you think they did auditionings for?
Oh gosh, I
I
don't
would
remember.
say spring, early summer, but I mean,
No, it was spring.
It's
It would have been
spring,
It
spring.
goes so fast, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so you've got how much time to pull together a major musical like this?
I'd say
And
6
rehearsals.
weeks. 6
About
weeks.
6 weeks or so. And that's pretty consistent. Did they give you a couple days off here with the holiday to at least let you sneak that in? Or no, pretty much every day something is needed.
I mean, a typical practice week is Monday through Thursday.
Monday
so
through
we're off
Thursday.
weekends anyway.
Good, okay.
With the exception of we'll be coming into Tech Sunday this
Okay.
coming weekend.
Yep.
which
Then
is-
that's a whole different story,
It is.
right?
It is.
Then
All
you
hands on deck.
You could go. Then you go home when Scott says you can go home, right? When
Yes.
things seem like they're kind of smooth and they're working out. Are there other capacities or identities you have in real life? In your other real life?
In our other real life?
Yeah, as far as teacher or executive or fireman, what else do you do?
I'm a pastor at State
Pastor?
Street Community Church
Oh, very
in
good.
LaPorte. And
Okay.
then I'm also a grad student at Purdue here
That's
in
right.
in
You were
Hammond.
saying you're not
Mhm.
too far from our radio studios. You're familiar with the landscape here, and Andrew?
Yes.
I own my own business. I'm a DJ and run karaoke.
Okay. Yep.
His hat has
There we
an
go. There's some
AB
branding on
a
there.
little plug,
Is there a
ABQ.
website for this also? In we should
Oh,
put
you can go
on?
to abkeymusic.com. So, yeah.
We're going to have Joey float for those of us that are streaming and following our cameras here. A couple of those photos there are the rehearsal photos. So see how well you are with your keen eye for spotting what scenes and what might be rehearsed here. And of course, for our radio audience, we'll describe what's happening here as well. I pulled just a few of these here. This looks like there is a lot of discourse happening here with either townsfolk or everybody's surrounding the manager with questions and things.
Yep.
Recognize that scene at all?
Yep, that is
The reporters.
Yep, those are all reporters, and actually on the other side, my secretary, you can't see her in this photo, but on the other side of the stage, we're both giving our own accounts on Conrad, trying to make him sound a little better than he actually is.
Yeah.
Giving multiple stories to reporters.
I can see a pretend
talk
microphone
about-
maybe being held up there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, she's got a pretend microphone there. Very good. And again, for those that are not familiar, most people are, but you'd be surprised even with the college classes I teach at Purdue, students don't always know the backstory for somebody like an Elvis Presley or these teen idols. Part of it being is that, is this a good role model? I'm guessing this is the kind of things that they're asking, right? They're wondering about, is this, music going to send people down the wrong road in rock and roll? And Elvis, of course, infamously on the Ed Sullivan Show, when he was performing at some point, was told not to swivel his famous hips. And the cameras took care of that by just cropping him and only showing him from the waist up. So we had a whole different kind of idea of censorship back then and what was appropriate. Some of that explored in the show. Is that kind of what it's a nod to about whether or not he's, the end-all, be-all when it comes to role models, or whether he's...
I'd say yes. And he's not, right? He's
Yeah.
not particularly a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that picture is that it's a song that's being sung back and forth with some dialogue, and they're telling two completely different stories.
your
that are-
the secretary
Yes,
has their own idea.
which is also a love interest. The secretary is a
okay.
love interest too.
So another plot storyline
Another
in there.
plot
Yes,
twist.
yep.
All
yes.
right,
Little
gotcha.
plot element. But yes, he's not. Conrad Birdie is not a stand-up guy.
And then how about float another photo for us, Joey, that had, I think there was one that looked like almost at a boardroom or school board meeting or
Oh no!
something's happening there that looks like they're at a moment of serious discourse here. What's happening there?
Well, that one starts out serious, but that is actually at the Shriners meeting. Rose, the secretary, Rosie, has decided to leave Albert and go out on the town, and she finds a bar that also hosts a Shriners meeting and decides to go out and have some fun and disrupt their meeting.
I thought it had to be something that was going on that looked like it was supposed to be very official. And I think there's one more shot maybe that has kind of a lineup of ladies in that last shot that we'll get Joey to put on the screen, and we'll see if you can give us a caption description of what's unfolding for the moment there. Or a conga line. What do we have going on there?
Actually, that's just the other side of the stage from the
For the reporter
From the
scene?
reporters, correct.
So you've got some reporters that are standing kind of only in kind of the audience area that are getting their moment with their flashes, and I see a boom mic there as well.
Yes.
I've already seen so many different faces just in these couple of rehearsal scenes. At least 24 people, 20 people, easily?
At least that,
Yeah, I'd say probably closer to 30.
30,
between 25 and 30,
yeah.
Did you both go to the audition process saying, Scott or whoever were the deciding casting folks, find out what's the fit for me in your eyes and mold me, or no, you'd kind of hope for a couple roles that you had already read and prepared for, or you went in completely open?
And I think our stories are different on this because for me, I was not familiar with the show. Of course, I've heard of it, but I was not familiar with the show. But because of my schedule, I've not been able to be involved in previous shows recently, and I knew my schedule would allow me to do the summer show.
Sure.
So I'm like, this is great.
Yep.
But I showed up not knowing that much about the characters and saying, okay, just let's try some things out. And then I auditioned. They had me audition for May, and I'm like, well, that was really fun. This is the part I didn't know that I wanted, but after going through the audition process, of course,
great.
I'm like, this is so much fun. She's an absurd character. So,
and again, it's the mother of the manager who really is the main role, and how he's trying to hold it all together, and also can't keep everybody happy, but sure tries, right?
That's a big key. Yeah, he can't keep anyone happy, and he's kind of stuck in the middle, the push and pull of all these relationships.
So that's fun.
Life.
You kind of went in open mind and thought, I'm going to see exactly how the stars and planets align. Your story's different, though, huh?
Yeah, a little different there. I mean, obviously, previously mentioned, I had been in the show as Conrad, and going back, I definitely had Albert picked out as what I was auditioning for, and was hopeful that I would get that role. Just knowing the whole full circle and being a part of the show previously, I was like, oh, this is a role that I would really enjoy to be a part of. So going in, it was definitely I prepared for that specific role.
Perfect. We're going to get Joey to put up the poster so we can see all the times and dates and everything. So July 18th. So depending on when you're hearing our broadcast, it could be a rebroadcast, or remember where we caught this and you're streaming. Today is Monday, July the 7th. So that's when our interview is happening. LaPorte Little Theatre, our friends right to the east, doing Bye Bye Birdie, which is a major showstopper Broadway musical. July the 18th is that opening weekend for the 19th and the 20th. Then you've got one other weekend after that, July 25th, 26th, and 27th. Tickets and information, www.LaPorte Little Theatre, use the R-E spelling, LaPorteLittleTheatreClub.com, all slurred together. That'll get you right to where you want to go, or just Google it, and you'll find all the information. It's so easy to buy tickets right online.
Yeah, it's very user-friendly.
If you're gonna go out to LaPorte, I don't suggest just showing up, because it could be a sold-out performance. You've got a big cast, and you've got a lot of friends and family coming to see this one. So get your tickets in advance, and then that way you know you're covered, that when you show up there, you're good to go. Now it's time to throw you one of these tough Larry King, Joan Rivers questions. All right, are you ready for this? Yeah, it's not really that tough.
Okay.
Since Scott's not here, we're talking about Scott Lanning. He's the director for this run. What is a scene that it's just taken some time, it's a work in progress, but maybe because there's so many people are blocking, or the song is tough, it's just taking a little bit more time or fine-tuning. Can you think of a scene or a song or something that has really been a work in progress for this run?
Would you say like the scene when they're on camera? Because there's so many moving parts.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, during the Ed Sullivan show, I think would be a good one. I think that just goes to there's a lot of moving things happening, moving pieces. Yeah.
And I'm familiar with Scott from interviewing him as well, but not always about the full process. A lot of directors will do this on maybe the first day of the table read and just talk some about the show. It certainly helps for the characters and the people in the cast. Obviously, if you know what's happening and what these different references mean, and it could be slang or something from the time, or it could be a name, that will help you know. Was Scott, did he take that tactic or technique at the table read, for example? Okay, so it's a big deal because he's going to be on Ed Sullivan's show. Think of American Idol. That was the kind of show this was, where you could really reach a lot of people. Otherwise, I don't know if a lot of younger people, are they going to know who Ed Sullivan would be in your cast? Tell me a little bit about that. Does that happen with Scott, or No, Google it and figure it out yourself and go to Wikipedia.
I mean, I think it's kind of a cast effort.
Yeah, I think it's a group effort. I think it's a little bit of both. I mean,
Yes.
Scott does a really good job of when we're working on scenes to actually stop and say, "This is what you're saying." Like,
Right.
here's what the whole point that you're trying to get across is, and he does a good job explaining those and stopping as we're going through while blocking to say, "Hey, this is what's being said, and I need you to make sure you get that across."
Right.
But I think with a lot of the references, I think it's also just as an actor or actress, that's part of your job is to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
Because
So
it's not just the kids who don't always know the references.
Yeah.
We're like, sometimes we're like, we're not, what's this?
so but since we're
Then
amongst
we
friends,
start the Googles, right?
and just the three of us here, we're a week out before it starts. As there's still maybe a couple people that you're pretty confident still don't know who Ed Sullivan is. Maybe don't answer. That's all right.
There's
all
a lot
right.
of teenagers. Yeah, there are a lot of teenagers, so probably.
How about give me one other fun thing that was in there? Even you had to look up. You're like, what are they talking about? What is this? Or something that Scott had to explain. That was something that's trapped in time from that era, where I don't know if young people would know what a bobby socks or soccer is, right? That was somebody who was a big fan of like Sinatra or Elvis, and they would scream and was anything else that was maybe a reference or something that was.
I'm trying to think of, because obviously the lines that stick in our heads are the lines that we have
that you have
ourselves,
your own
our own
scenes,
lines.
yeah.
I think the whole.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the whole concept at the very beginning, with the kids all on their phones together.
Oh, that's a good one.
I mean, I guess you could say party line concept with everybody talking and calling
On their phones, we
on
mean
their
like
phone.
this.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Like this,
not this.
Like this.
Not like
No.
this. They're all on
No.
their phones. We and I apologize in advance to our producer Joey, but I had an old retro phone as a prop for a few shows back on here, and I teased. I said at some point, make it ring during the show. It was just a prop one. It was an old rotary dial one. And he got the sound effect and
Of
it
a cell
rang,
phone?
but it was a digital sound, and that mechanical phone would never have made that sound. But in his defense, he said, "But on YouTube, they showed that kind of an earpiece, so it was saying that would have been the one that matched it." But understandably so, you're right. Party line. There was a time where, believe it or not, if you picked up your phone, you could hear your neighbors and other people all talking at the same time because not everybody had a private phone line. It was very pricey. And that was the case for us at the farm up into the 1980s. We still had, you'd pick up the phone, you could, and again, I say phone, I mean the one attached to the wall. You couldn't talk because the neighbor was on there talking. You could it would be rude, you could break in and say, "Would you please release the line? I need to make a phone call," or so. But in today's world of HIPAA laws and privacy, doesn't that sound just absurd that you could listen into somebody else's conversation and not worry about, the Federal Communications, the FCC? So one more time, we're going to, as we wrap up here, it's Bye Bye Birdie. This is a part of the season that is a legendary season for our friends at LaPorte Little Theatre because it's the century mark, 100th anniversary of performances, and it's July the 18th. So depending when you're catching this broadcast or this airing or rebroadcast, goes the 18th. It's for 2 weekends only. Concludes the second weekend, the 25th, 26th, 27th of July. And anybody memorize what's up next around the corner, the next show?
It's Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
Yeah.
Okay. So now take you into August, I'm guessing, right? Must be.
August, September.
September.
Yeah.
It's September.
Which I can't believe we're saying the word September already, right? How quickly this summer has just come and gone and evaporated. But what a fantastic musical. And if you've not visited, and even you were mentioning it, you weren't familiar with Bye Bye Birdie, you had to kind of look it up a little bit. It's not done that often because of the fact that it's a large cast. It's a period piece, so anything that is a period piece is going to take extra costume, extra wigs, and so a lot of theaters maybe don't have the capacity to do it. LaPorte Little Theatre is doing it. Remember, that's www.LaPorteLittleTheatre with the RE club.com. Get your tickets and find out all your information. As we close and wrap up here, just a couple other things I want to toss out for things happening. We mentioned our friends at Dune Summer Theater, which is another LaPorte entity in Michigan City. They are finishing up their weekend of Outside Mulligar, which I caught the second weekend of performances, so I was there to get to check it out. They are in their 74th, getting ready for their 75th season, so they're legendary. A little bit behind LaPorte Little Theater, but not too far. This is a production not to be missed. One more weekend of performances. You will not be disappointed. You can call the box office at 219-879-7509 or www.dunesarts.org. Wonderful, wonderful performance and talented cast. And that is, again, at our friends at Dunes Summer Theater, right along US 20 in Michigan City. And downtown at the Goodman Theater on Monday, I caught the press opening of The Color Purple musical. It has been reimagined, and then it's a brand new musical and run, but the true story is there. I remember back when it first launched and was produced by Oprah Winfrey in Chicago, and it was called Oprah Winfrey's The Color Purple. Now we just have the branding of The Color Purple. That's at the Goodman Theater right off Dearborn Street. Talented cast and a fantastic set design that is simple, stark, but a lot of symbolism there. You will not want to miss either of these. And that run goes, again, to get us almost all the way through July. So you've got time to get out to see The Color Purple. The last thing I'll say, for those of you that are tuning in and you have the added advantage of our video streaming here to see what's happening in the studio, I had picked out a couple albums to put on here, Bobby Darin and K-Star, and I had brought this with. What do you think this is for either of you? What do you think is in here?
I've been wondering since I sat down.
Yeah. Joey, what do you think is in here? Any ideas? What's in here? What would you guess?
Like,
something for food?
Where my grandma would put tortillas.
It's like, that's what I thought.
His grandma would put tortillas.
That's
very clever. Too. That's good. I brought it. Any guesses, Andrew?
No, I do not.
I brought it because I was downstairs and it was on the old-fashioned stereo at my parents', and I thought it would be filled with 45 records. That it was a record keeper. Then I took off the lid and come to find out it's for playing poker. It's cards and it's so it's not. We were all wrong, right?
Yeah.
All of us were wrong. But hey, it I thought it looked like it was for 45 records, but it was not. Thank you so much. Come back again. Andrew, have you ever been on the show before?
No, this is my first time.
All right. Well, you'll make sure you'll come back because you're doing repeated performances, it sounds like. And we know that we'll have you back as well because you've already been on before. So we'll consider you a veteran. And most of all, we hope all of you will return next week when we bring you the latest that's happening and everything that's entertainment and trends in Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland, and beyond. I'm your host, Philip Patempa for Of Notoriety. Depending on when you're tuned in, we hope you enjoy wherever your path might take you with the rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. Thank you.